Hello there. My name is Christina Barr. I'm a nurse practitioner and a stroke survivor. So some of you may not know that on the 29th, coming up here, is National Stroke Awareness Day. And so I wanted to do my part in sharing my story. So I'm going to post two of these videos. One is for healthcare providers and one is for non-healthcare providers. So this one is to my healthcare homies. So on June 18th, 2019, I was sleeping on my right side, and around 5 in the morning I woke up to roll onto my left side, but my left arm wouldn't move. I hadn't been sleeping on that arm, so I didn't know why that arm was not moving. I could feel it. There was no numbness or tingling. I immediately got up and looked in a mirror and tried the Cincinnati stroke scale on myself, and I had facial symmetry. But I just could not move my arm. It was the weirdest thing in the world. So I went to lay down and try to figure out what was going on, and within the next 20 minutes or so, I developed a pretty severe headache. I noticed when I stood up, I felt off balance a little bit. I was a little bit confused. I went to the emergency department where I worked, so I was taken very seriously. Initial CT was fine. It was just a plain film, and lab work and everything was reassuring. Neurology came in and they thought that I had a pinched radial nerve, which it wasn't. And so they didn't want to admit me. Hospitalists admitted me for intractable headache. They had given me a migraine cocktail plus Depicon, everything you could think of in the ER to try to help my head pain, because it really became severe by about 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So I was admitted for intractable headache. They tried to do an MRI on me. I was very claustrophobic, so they just canceled it and sent me home and told me that I may have a pinched nerve or a complex migraine. So they sent me home with some steroids, and my elbow would bend at that time, but I really had no control over my hand. So they told me also to stretch my neck in case I had a pinched nerve. So I went home. I worked as hard as I could. I was determined to get this function back. So I was outside weeding and lifting heavy laundry baskets, and 6 days later, I was lifting a laundry basket and I felt the side of my face get tingly, and the right side of my face and the left side of my body. So I was like, So I did what any normal provider would do, and I went and got an outpatient MRI where the tech quickly was like, sit right there, somebody needs to talk to you. And I got on the phone and this woman said, there's no way to say this easily, but you've had a major stroke. And I was like, no way, I know my social security number. Anyways, I wasn't making any sense. So after a stay in the ER, they did a CT angio head and neck where they confirmed that I had a dissection. I was hospitalized in the ICU for a few days and ultimately discharged home on aspirin with a ton of restrictions that I still have today, like no extending my neck, no lifting greater than 20 pounds, things like that. When I went back to work 6 weeks later, I realized how many times younger people's symptoms like mine are kind of dismissed. You know, I think in emergency medicine, we risk stratify people, right? We have all these things like the heart score and the PCARN score. We have all these scores to try to determine the likelihood of somebody having something significant happening. And I'll never forget is that the first day I came back, there was a woman who presented to the ER for very similar symptoms as me. She was driving and her arm just fell off the steering wheel and she couldn't move it, and she was hysterical. And the idea of the resident at that time was to give her some Valium or something to calm her down, and because they thought that she was just kind of being hysterical. So I definitely had a conversation about how it could be, an atypical stroke. People have dissections. A dissection is what caused mine. I had a right internal carotid artery dissection, and it went from just kind of around my ear up to my circle of Willis, but I still have symmetrical perfusion, so I'm kicking it with it. While I was in the ICU, as you can imagine, I kind of was on up to date constantly. And I think I got like 180 CMEs or something like that over a 2-day period, just reading everything you could about cervical dissections. So I'm a bit of an expert probably now. When I went back to the ER full time, I actually found 2 people with dissections within a year, which is super uncommon, right? And I think it's because I have a heightened, it's on the front of my mind. It happened to me, and I would never want anyone to experience what I went through, or to feel like they're crazy or they're minimized. So the point of me sharing the story is twofold. One, just to kind of raise awareness that carotid artery dissections aren't exactly common, but they're probably more common than you think, because it's theorized that maybe 1/3 of them are never found, because some of them will heal in about 3 months. So when a person has any kind of presenting symptoms like pulsatile tinnitus or scalp tenderness or a little dizziness, a Horner syndrome, a lot of times these symptoms can be so vague that they're not identified early enough, and by the time the person's actually scanned, it's healed. And so there will probably a little bit of a thickening there from where that was, but not always. So I would just say to keep it on your radar. And also, if you ever develop symptoms that are concerning dizziness or obviously any numbness or tingling, don't minimize them. I know healthcare workers hate going to the hospital. They hate going to the ER. We're the worst patients. We all know that. But I would just say, obviously, seek help immediately. Advocate for the CT angio head and neck, because that's what's going to find it. And just be grateful for every day that you have, because I was lucky to have a second chance and to have regained full function, but not everybody is. So anyways, just wanted to bring awareness on Stroke Awareness Day, and I hope everybody's doing amazing, and don't judge how crazy my hair looks, okay? I can't help it. Bye.